Okay, I'm excited for this one today. I've always wanted to do this and I finally did it. I made these giant cutouts. I hand painted them and I made them look like these vintage cutouts that I grew up as a kid hanging up around my house. So this is some of the original stuff. This is an original Beistle, 1970s. You have the spooky, funny, crazy ghosts that glow in the dark, and I wanted to recreate a lot of these old Beistle cutouts in big, giant wooden murals. So I'm gonna take you through it. We're gonna take you through how I cut them out, how I traced them, how I painted them, and how I mount them. Let's check it out right now. And here they are in all their glory. I made 6 in total, but you can see right now there's 2 ghosts in the haunted house. I also made a skull and 2 pumpkins. And I just love this kind of vintage style. I love the essence of what it was in the 90s, 80s, and early 2000s. So let's check it out. I started out grabbing images online of the murals that I wanted to create. I borrowed a projector and then projected it on those pieces of wood. I traced the projections right on the wood and checked my work by going between the projection and my tracings. And here's a check-in, here's the projection, and then when I lean in, my shadow covers it, and you can see my tracing. Looks pretty good. I did this for the rest of the murals, making sure I took my time and traced things like the outlines and shadows and different highlights. Once that was done, I cut everything out with the skill saw, and then it was time to start base coating and checking to see if all the colors matched up. Updates on the Beistle cutout. I have them in various stages, so I've cut them out, I've traced them with the projector, and now I found, you can see it right here where I'm going over, is I originally traced it with pencil, then I traced it with pen because I found that when I did some of these washes that you could just not even see the pen. Even though I did tests, when it dried fully, you still couldn't do it. So now I'm going over it with the Sharpie. And you can see there's some ones in the back here that you could get a little bit more, where is it? Here we go. Yeah, you can still see it and it's not gonna disrupt when you actually paint it too. So there's an update. I decided to use kills too for not only the wash and the base coat, but then to start to define things like this skull and the bone of the skull before I added in the ultraviolet Roscoe paint. Here's that Roscoe paint added in. You could see it really brings out the bright colors that all those die cuts were known for. And I'm testing it out with the UV light. Roscoe is expensive, but really, really good in UV light. So just a quart like that costs upwards of $50 to $80, but it just is awesome results. I like to paint Roscoe with the UV light on just to see where I covered, because you can see right now painting white on white, it gets hard to tell where you've painted Roscoe and not. So I'll use a chip brush to paint out the big blocks, and I'll use a fine brush to paint in the little tiny details like next to those bats. Watering down the Roscoe helps with stretching it, and also it helps when painting it. So for me, with this rough wood, it helped paint a lot better. I just had to go over it a couple of times to get the glow I wanted. I like to check with the black light as well when the paint dries to see if I missed anywhere and I need to go back and repaint. This pink needed a lot of coats, but in the end, it glowed so awesome. So I was really happy of how it turned out. Once I got all the colors there, I started to do the outline. So this is the first black coat of the outline, and you can see there's still some spots that need to be filled in with the second coat. And here's what it looks like without the outline. You can see where I haven't put in any Roscoe in some of the areas because sometimes the Roscoe bleeds through the outline. So I'm gonna do the outline right there, and you can see the gaps and where I need to start to fill it in with black. And here's the second coat of the outline, and you can see the crisp black pops really nicely with all the great colors. Here's the first, and you can see where it starts to dry, and you need that second coat to really make things pop. And things are really coming together. The haunted house took a lot of time, and the skull did too, but things are looking good. We've got the scared ghosts to the night glow ghosts with the candles, and then we have the pumpkins, both the frightened one, which is one of my favorites, and of course the happy one. So the pumpkins had the white in their eyes and teeth glow. When it came down to mounting, I wanted something simple. So I just got a 2x3, I made it into a stake, and I mounted fence post mounting on it. And I also have one for the top, so it slides on top of this, and I just put some zip ties here. I wanted this to be simple, easy, and then I could basically use the same thing across each one and not have to worry about it. So I labeled this one just in case. Some of them are different heights, like the haunted house is a little higher, but I wanted something that I could easily mount and then transfer, throw in the back of a trunk. And here's these things. These are great. I wanted something that could embed inside of a piece of wood and you wouldn't see screw holes, or I wouldn't have to make a screw hole every single time. So these are Hillman. So these are particularly these T-nuts, prong T-nuts, so that you basically hammer them in to a piece of wood, and then I glued it a little bit just to make sure, and now you can screw. They're threaded, and in this case I have a screw right here that goes and fits right into one of these brackets, and it goes right into the threads each time. The only thing that I did run into is that these were a little bit smaller for these, so I had to pre-drill these here just so that I could have this easily fit in. Sorry for the blurriness. Wow. Okay, so basically I stake this down, I mount this onto it, and then I put this little cap here, and this was in like 50-mile-an-hour winds. Seriously, I say this every time, but there's always a hurricane that happens, and I have to make sure that this stuff doesn't blow over, and now it's like a sail when these have these giant pieces of wood here. So I staked them in, I mounted them, and I actually put some tarp over them, and they were in, again, rainstorms, windstorms, and these held up perfectly. So this is the mount here. You'll see some pictures, I'll cut to them right now, of them just hanging up and being able to be floating at night because I painted them black, and make sure that they go a little bit off the ground. So this way it really plays into the Bethel pumpkin house and all the pumpkins. So there you have it. That's how I mounted these, as easy and as simple as I could, with materials found at your local hardware store or big like freight wood store like Home Depot or Lowe's.
Let's check them out in all their glory at the Bethel Pumpkin House. You can see the pumpkins are mounted to the window. And now you have this fantastic old world Halloween nostalgia setup, including the spinning heads with the Beistle cutouts. You have the haunted house and the ghosts behind the pumpkins. You have the burlap and the pumpkins next to the skull. What a great sight. If you want to see more videos, you can check them out here or go on my YouTube page. And until next time, happy haunting.